Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video I have a lot of information for you. We're assembling the 17-inch rear wheel for the CX500 Scrambler project, so stick around. Electrical series for custom motorcycles. Alright guys, now before we get started, I gotta get serious with you. This is something that is not for beginners. This can be potentially deadly. You're putting your life in your hands here. So those of you who are interested in doing this and you don't feel competent, or you're not what you would consider possibly like an expert, professional, whatever, I would not advise doing this. So it can be very dangerous with anything, so just use caution. There's a lot of different information online, whether it be this is impossible, you should never do it, to this is no problem, it's been done all the time. So my goal, since this was going to be a project I was doing anyway, was to put together a video with clear, concise information on how exactly I did it. And that information is from me scouring the internet and trying to research stuff and trying to piece together the best way of doing this that's the safest way possible. So anyway, with that being said, enjoy the video. We have this thing all cleaned up. I took everything's been in the ultrasonic cleaner, well, except for the rim, but we've cleaned everything up. It's been polished, ceramic coated, and it's looking really good for what it is. So I have all of my hardware. I have some M7 by 30 10.9 hardware, and then this is 12.9 JIS spec. These are M8 by 70. So I'm gonna go ahead and start mocking this thing up. Hopefully it's going to fit just fine. So let's get started. Alright guys, so we have the wheel partially assembled. This thing is barely just finger tight, and I have half the bolts on the outer ring, all the ones on the inside, and I just put it up on my truing stand to kind of see what all the fuss is about these things. You gotta make them run true, and you gotta do this, and you'll never get it. Well, they're finger tight. I haven't done anything to this. Check it out. Looks pretty good to me. So I don't know. People say it's impossible, but seriously, like there's not even all the bolts in this thing. It's not even tightened down, and it's perfect. So anyway, I'm going to keep working on this, and I have a little method here. So to kind of walk you through some of the hardware I'm using. On the outside ring, I did order some 7mm stuff, and it was kind of expensive, but these are some 12.9 M7 by 30 bolts, socket heads. They're black oxide, which I don't normally want to use due to the kind of limited corrosion protection, but I'm going to coat these with like nail polish or something like that, help keep them sealed. And then to pair with that, I just have some M7 washers. I did grind down the edge just a little bit, and that's to kind of fit around the spokes. I don't know if you guys can see here. just clearanced a little bit. So on the inside ring, these are M8 by 70, 10.9. They're JIS spec, and they are going to work fine. And the only thing I'm trying to decide is what nut to use on this side. So right now those are just hand tightened with just a regular stainless nut. And I can either use just a flanged nut here that has kind of a locking groove in it, and then I can, you know, do Loctite on top of that. Or I can go washer with another nylock with more Loctite. Just trying to decide what I want to go with, and I'm probably going to go flange because it has more of a factory look to it. And I think that'll be fine. I'll probably end up cutting that bolt down just slightly. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and start getting this thing together, start coating bolts, maybe trimming some stuff down. We'll just kind of go that last 10% on this, and then hopefully soon torque it down, make sure it runs true again, and then mount the tire. So my method so far, I'm doing the inner bolts and nuts right now in a kind of cross pattern, the way you would tighten a 5-spoke wheel. Pulling one out, red Loctite on the threads. These have a serrated edge on the nut to be even more Loctite, you know. Thread these on. And I'm doing an initial torque sequence of 20 foot-pounds. You can see here I have the brake held down. That just helps me stabilize it. Now the torque specs I'm using, that's based off of kind of common torque values you would find on this sized hardware. So for instance, this is M8 right now. There's not really any specific torque values I can find for doing this specific thing. So be warned, definitely do not do this if you are not comfortable. I do not want to make this look easy. Alright, so there's 20 on that. Step this up to 24. There's 24. So one other thing I'm doing with these M7 bolts, again, being black oxide, I said I'd coat them with something, so I just have some modeling paint, putting them kind of at the base here, and up the threads just before where the nut would be on there. I don't want to interfere with the Loctite. Kind of coat the backside here, and then I'll do the very tip once we get these things on the bike. But for now, a little paint in here, just a little added protection. I guess I could paint these in front of the camera so you guys can see. That might be kind of cool. Alright, getting started on this outer section here. So we have our freshly painted bolts. You know, they're cut to length. Washer's modified a little bit. I've already got 5 of these in here, so we are just going with the rest. And I found this is kind of the hardest part, is aligning these washers and then trying to keep them from spinning as we tighten this. I had to do these for some. Washer spins. Back it off. Spin it where it needs to go. Alright, we're good there. On to the next one. Perfect. And you get the idea. So just going around doing every other spoke, and then we will be done soon enough. All right, we have the wheel fully torqued up. Here's our run out. Trying to hold the phone as still as possible here. But I think we're going to be good to go. So tomorrow I can go ahead and get the tire mounted on this thing and try to get it balanced, so we'll get it on the bike. Alright guys, so I'm about to pull this wheel and go ahead and put the tire on it. And one other thing I've done, just as a safety thing, the little yellow paint marks here, I got them on all the bolts and nuts on both sides. And what this is for is just to keep a visual eye on if any of the hardware is moving, make sure this thing stays at torque. And this will be something I recommend the customer just check and recheck every like 500 miles or so until we're comfortable with it. So just something to keep the bases covered, and I do recommend that. I already have, if you notice, these things are a little bit shinier than when we left off. I have painted these just as that corrosion protection as well. So just another little thing, but as of now, like I said, getting ready to go mount the tire on this thing. All right, well, we have the tire mounted on this thing. If you want to see how I did it, I use the zip tie method. I'll link above to mounting the same tires on the GL650. So anyway, this thing looks really good. About to throw it on the truing stand and just kind of see where it's at. All right, one last little check. Looks pretty good to me. All right, for mock-up, let's get it on the bike. Get to the front wheel. Good God, this thing looks amazing. Alright, so there you have it. We have a 17-inch in the back of the CX500. We have a good tire profile. We have lots of room. So lots of tire clearance. And overall, it just looks better. So we're just trying to get all the ground clearance we can out of this thing. And then it actually sits pretty level. It's a little high in the front, but the suspension's unloaded, so it'll sink down and everything. but really happy with how it turned out so far. Alright guys, so my goal for this was, obviously I wanted a 17 on this thing, but I wanted to do this correctly. I want to do it as safe as possible, and if I'm going to show it to you guys, I want to try to give you guys clear, concise information and some good practices to do. So hopefully it doesn't look like it's a simple thing to do. This is a very involved thing. It takes a lot of time, and it is inherently dangerous. Like if you're going to build your own spoked wheel, if you search a video on how to lace a wheel, you know, you could search a video on how to charge your own batteries and stuff. So there's dangers that come with any of this, and especially with rear wheels. So definitely be advised. Definitely think about what you're doing here if it's something that you're going to try to do. Not for beginners. I'm not going to suggest that at all. So don't go cutting apart your wheels and putting things together. There's a lot that can go wrong, and I'm trying to take every precaution necessary to make sure this is done correctly, and that, again, the information that I'm providing to you guys is clear, accurate, and safe. So with that being said, I hope you guys like this video. This thing's really taking shape, really digging the bike. I love the ground clearance, I love the look, I love the tires, I love everything about it so far, and it's only going to get better from here. So if you haven't already, there's a few videos before this. We get to this point, you know, doing the suspension on this thing, the front end swap. Go check those out if you haven't seen them already. And check out some other stuff I have on the channel. There's a lot of stuff on here. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.